Five, four, three, two, one. Thunderbirds are go. That's for Luke Orridge. And don't forget, anything can happen in the next half hour. Sorry, I'm a big fan of Jerry Anderson. Hello, welcome to the Xbox version of Space Engineers. One of the best creative or creation games you can get on the Xbox, where you can actually make your creations come to life. I mean, look, red ship, blue ship, my own ships. And today, I want to talk to you about pistons. So, what about pistons then? Let's have a look at a piston. You'll find pistons on the build menu in Advanced Systems. Let's start with a piston. Have a look. The best way to know how to place a piston correctly is look at the control panel. It has a little circle at the top. Always in Space Engineers, the right way up is the control panel way up, like that. And how to quickly know, as I've said before, the circle there always means your number pad is facing the correct direction. Sometimes you might want to place a piston facing down, but at least you know where the top part of the piston is. So pistons can be used for numerous things. And since the block collision update, you can do far more with them than you could before. Many people will tell you not to place pistons next to walls and so on, but you can now make proper lifts with pistons. But let's look at the piston. There it is. You can turn the block on and off. You can show it in the terminal, which means it will appear in the left-hand side. You can show it in your toolbar config. And you can turn on Share Inertia Tensor if you're running in experimental mode. This is useful when you're making a drilling rig. It usually stops shake and clang. You can add a piston head if yours is broken or just simply not on. And if you hit reverse, your piston is going to extend. And it's going to extend to the maximum of 10 meters. I mean, this is a large grid piston. You can also change its velocity, so you can make it move slowly or quickly, depending. You can change its maximum distance, so you only want it to come out to 5 meters. Then you can change that. You can change its minimum distance. If you only want it to come back to, say, 2 meters, you could set the minimum distance to 2, maximum to 8. So it will only move between those 2 points. Useful if you are making a thing that needs to move between 2 particular points on a build. And then we'll talk about this. Max impulse axis and max impulse non-axis. The safety margin for this is 100 kilonewtons. Beyond that, you will see, if I set this to 100 kilonewtons and I start pushing, you'll see it goes red. This is Space Engineers experimental mode telling me that I am now pushing that axis beyond what's safe for it to do. But in certain cases, you need to do this. You need to do this and make sure that you what? Hold on a moment. Come here. You're going to say hello to people? Yeah. What? You're disturbing my video here. I know. You want to be a space engineer as well? Yeah. You want to be involved in YouTube? Mal? Mal is named after Captain Malcolm Reynolds, bad in the Latin, which is true in this case. Anyway, so max impulse axis and non-axis are basically almost like the power settings of a piston, the same as you would get with hinges and rotors like torque. And they're useful for when you want to make a build do something that either gravity or block collision won't allow it to do. So I was talking about block collision. What do I mean? Well, let's, for instance, slap some blocks down on either side of this particular piston. Just a few. On this side. And on this side. Now, in regular Space Engineers, back in the day, this was impossible, really, what I'm about to do. This wasn't impossible, but what I'm going to do in a second was blocks did not like to collide with each other. Their bounding box was much larger than it used to be. Thanks to Keen, though, they've been going through and updating their block collisions. They did this a few patches ago, and it allows us now to make things like this work. If you want a lift, you could make a lift a lot easier now. In fact, if you want a really simple lift, all you need to do on this particular build is just slap one of these grated catwalks over the top. Pick the one you like the look of the most. I mean, there's a half right grated catwalk here. Make a good lift top. And then all you'd need to do is connect that to a button. You can have a perfectly working lift. Pistons are far more versatile than they used to be, although you have to watch out when you put them on a mobile grid. They can transfer, along with hinges and rotors, their force into the grid, which will cause it to tilt, twist, and do some very strange things. This is why we have shear inertia tensor, although on hinges it doesn't tend to work as well. So this impulse axis and non-axis, how does that work? Well, here is something you can do with pistons. This is pistons and timer blocks. This piston pulls out this set of blocks here. Hidden away underneath the platform is a gun, which pops up out up here using timer blocks and pistons. But this part here, these two blocks, compared to the block that this gun turret's sitting on top of, or rather the piston head this gun turret is sitting on top of, quite heavy. And even in a no gravity or low gravity situation, they can be a pain. But we've got a gravity generator, so we're running at 2 grav. So these blocks require a lot of power from the piston. Let me find you the piston. This was the 4th thing I did. So this is piston 4. So there are 100 kilonewtons each on that. Let's have a look at piston. So 100 kilonewtons, they've got to be pushed up to be able to move this thing. I'll show you where the piston is, you'll see what I mean. It's actually carrying more than its fair share of blocks. Piston 4. You see I've set the minimum distance for it to move back and the maximum distance it can move forwards to make this build work. And both of these are on 100 kilonewtons. If they were any lower or at 0, this would not move when I press this button. Because they are, it counters the effect that the artificial gravity is having and moves the build. That's all you really need to know about pistons. Pistons are extremely versatile. They're useful. You can make landing gear that folds out from the ship using pistons if you want. They're a little tricky to get built in that regard, but you can do it. I've done it a couple of times. They're more stable than hinges. They can be used to make very quick, accessible lifts in bases. And they can pop little turrets up out of hidden hidey holes like this. That's it, that's pistons. So the next video I'm thinking of doing will be on, very simply, how to create something like this in an asteroid. That's right, it's a little asteroid base. And it's pressurized. And it has its own oxygen system. So, until then, stay safe, take care, have fun, enjoy the game, happy engineering. Bye for now.